Hello everyone, today we're going to be solving AQA GCSE Biology Foundation Tier Paper 2F June 2019. The nervous system allows a person to detect stimuli. Draw one line from each stimulus to the sense organ that detects the stimulus. So whenever we're going to talk about stimulus, it is a change in the environment. Now we can see chemicals. Obviously chemicals will be detected by tongue. There are two places where chemicals can be detected, either tongue or nose. Light, we only have one kind of receptor, that is eye. So eye contains rods and cones. The rods are able to detect dark and white light, and the cones can detect color. Moving a hand away from hot object is an example of reflex action. What is an reflex action? So basically, reflex action will be an involuntary action. So conscious part of the brain will not be involved. So we'll say it is a fast and rapid movement to protect from danger, or we can say it is a response, a reaction which is involuntary. A muscle in the arm moves the hand away from the hot object. How does the arm muscle do this? So obviously the arm muscle has contracted. When a particular muscle contracts, it moves away. When a particular muscle contracts, it performs a particular task. The next options are not correct because it says it relaxes, the muscle shrinks or expands. When a muscle contracts, it pulls. Two students investigated the effect of drinking coffee on reaction time. Student A holds a meter rule just above the student B's hand as shown in figure 1. Student A lets go of the meter rule, as we can see in the diagram. Student A, lets go of the meter rule, and the first reading taken is just where the person's finger is touching that particular number. So here we can see it's 18. Student B catches the meter rule as quickly as possible. Student A writes down the reading from the scale on the meter rule. Student A and B repeat steps 1 to 4 another 4 times. Student B then drinks a cup of coffee. After 15 minutes, student A and student B repeat steps 1 to 5. So test 1 to 5, okay, before drinking coffee and after drinking coffee. You can see for the first two, the reaction time is already decreased. Figure 2 shows the result after drinking the coffee for test 3, 4, 5. So let's look at the reading. Since here 8 is below the finger, so 8. Over here 11 is below the finger, and over here we can see 13 is below the finger. Now we have to complete the table. The student made the following conclusion. Drinking coffee speeds up reactions. Give evidence from table 1 to support the student's conclusion. So we can generally see from the table that after drinking coffee, all of the reaction time were lesser compared to the first test. So we can write, after drinking coffee, the ruler falls less far before being caught. The student's conclusion may not be valid. Suggest 2 improvements the student could make to their method. To improve any method that are shown in this particular diagram, where there is a multiple repeats that needs to be done, we can talk about more repeats or more tests per student. Or we can also say we can use a ruler with more precise reading. The shape of person's earlobe is controlled by a gene. Figure 3 shows 2 types of earlobe, free earlobe, attached earlobe. The dominant allele codes for free earlobes. What is a dominant allele? A dominant allele is an allele that is always expressed if present in the genotype. So even if it is inherited from one single parent, it will still be expressed. So let's see the options. An allele expressed even if a person has only one copy of the allele. Let's see why the other options are not correct. An allele expressed only if a person has 2 copies of the allele. This one refers to recessive. An allele expressed only if a person has no recessive allele. Well, this one is a wrong statement on its own because dominant can be expressed if only one of them is dominant and the other one is recessive, also fine, it will still be expressed. An allele expressed only if it is inherited from the male parent. Well, that is also not correct. A man with free earlobes and a woman with attached earlobes have children together. We can see the figure where capital E is for free earlobes and small e for attached earlobes. So capital E and the small e will produce capital E small e, and the other two will be small e small e. So we can see there is a 50% chance of free earlobes and also a 50% chance of attached earlobes. What is the probability that one of the children would have attached earlobes? So we can see one of the children having attached earlobes is 50% chance. 50% means 50 over 100, so 0.5. Figure 5 shows the inheritance of the sex chromosome X and Y. So a woman is always X and X and a man is always X and Y. So we can see that whenever a particular couple has a child, there is a 50-50 chance of having a female child and 50% chance of having a male child. Now the question says, calculate the probability that the man and the woman next child will be girl with attached earlobes. This is a very good question in terms that it wants us to multiply the probability. Okay, when we have a fixed set of data, having a girl, we know that having a girl is 50% chance, which dictates 0.5, and having attached earlobes is 50% chance, which is also 0.5. So the probability of having a girl with attached earlobes should multiply, which gives us 0.25% chance or 25%. Figure 6 shows the production of sperm in humans. Cell growth and copying of genetic material occurs from A to B. So whenever a cell is copying genetic material, it is going from 1x to 2x. So the amount of genetic material is doubling. And then cell division occurs, so which allows the cell to again divide the X quantity between C and D. Now, if it is going to E and F, it must be X over 2. So which will then all add up to produce the 2x. A cell A is normal body cell, which is this one. In humans, a normal body cell contains 46 chromosomes. How many chromosomes are there in cell A? Must be 46. What is the mass of DNA in cell E? The mass of DNA in cell E, we already talked about it, alright? The mass of DNA doubled when it went from A to B because the cell was preparing for division, which is why it was 2x. And then it halved again from here. So it doubles here because the cell is copying the genetic material, halves here because the cell is dividing, and then halves again. So since there are two halves, then it will be 1/4. So a quarter of the mass of DNA in cell A. This is not correct because mass of DNA in cell A was located as X. And the final mass in E is X over 2, which is half. So we'll have to give half mass of the DNA in cell A. This will be the correct answer. It's not the same mass as the DNA in cell A because it's a sex cell. Twice the mass of DNA in cell A was actually B. What type of cell division produces sperm cell? We know that binary fission is only applicable for bacteria, and differentiation is a specialization of a particular cell. So it must be meiosis. Remember, meiosis is sexual reproduction to produce gametes, such as sperm or egg cell. Sometimes there are errors in copying the genetic material. What term describes an error in the genetic material? An error in the genetic material can be referred by mutation because whenever a change in genetic material occurs, we call it mutation. Now, why the other points are not correct? Because mitosis is a typical cell division, so we will call it asexual cell division. Fertilization is fusion of sperm with egg, and absorption is taking in nutrients at cellular level. A woman has 3 children aged 4, 6, and 9 years. Why are the children not genetically identical? So the answer, we need to think in this way, because the woman had these children at different time, so obviously they were produced by different eggs. And obviously, the sperm that reached those eggs were different. So the genes from the two parents were, mixed together to produce this particular child, which is closely related but not the exact same copies. In sexual reproduction, a sperm cell fuses with an egg cell to form a new single cell. An embryo develops from the single cell. The cell divides 3 times to produce the embryo. How many cells are there in the embryo after 3 cell division? The first cell division will produce 2 cells, and the second cell division will produce 4 cells. The third cell division will produce 8 cells. Now, there is another way of doing this is because each cell division will produce 2, and if we're having it 3 times, so 2 to the power of 3. And if we put that in our calculator, it gives us 8. So total number of cells will be 8. Figure 7 shows a human embryo. The distance x we can measure. Now they say give your measurement in millimeters. Since we are doing the particular answer in a tablet, so the Marskim answer was 40. So it was 4 centimeter, which we then converted into millimeter. The image in figure 7 has been magnified 500 times. Calculate the real length of the embryo. Here, the calculation is given 1 millimeter is equals to 1000 micrometer. Since we have 40 millimeter, so naturally that would be 40,000 micrometer. Now, to find out the real length of the embryo, we can do the calculation image length, which is 40,000, divided by magnification, which is 500. This gives us an answer of 80 micrometer. So the real length of the embryo is 80 micrometer. The embryo may not implant in the lining of the uterus. The embryo will then be lost from the woman's body several days later. Explain why the woman may not notice that this has happened. Because if a woman does not get pregnant, she will naturally have menstruation. And the embryo is very small, so it will just be lost in the menstrual flow. Gardeners sometimes make compost heaps from dead plant material. The dead plants decay in the compost heap. Figure 8 shows a compost heap. We can see layers of dead plant materials and thin layers of soil in between it. The thin layer of soil contains organisms that cause decay. Which type of organism cause decay? Now, definitely, the type of organism that can cause decay would be microorganisms, which are bacteria and fungi. Grass is what we're trying to break down here. Insects are not microorganisms. Worms are not microorganisms. So, organisms that cause decay would be bacteria and fungi. Insect and worms, they can feed on the grass. The rate of decay in the compost heap depends on several environmental factors. Explain how the rate of decay would be affected by an increase in oxygen concentration. Generally, oxygen is needed for aerobic respiration, so which can increase the rate of decomposition. A temperature increase from 5 to 25 degrees Celsius. At higher temperature, enzyme work faster. So now we can write down the answer as follows. Both increase in concentration of oxygen and increase in temperature increases the rate of decomposition because oxygen is needed for aerobic respiration, and increase in temperature causes faster reaction of enzymes. We can write in points. Give one environmental factor that is needed for decay. Do not refer to oxygen or temperature in your answer. So we know that decay is a kind of reaction where mainly hydrolysis type of reaction takes place, means large molecules are broken down to simpler molecules. So definitely water will also be needed. Without water, decay cannot take place. That's why to prevent food materials from decaying, we generally dehydrate them. Dead plant material can also be decayed in a biogas generator. Figure 9 shows the percentage of gases found in a sample of biogas. We can see other gases 5%, carbon dioxide 35%, and gas X. What is the main fuel gas found in biogas? The main fuel gas found in biogas is methane. So let's see, methane will be the correct answer. Nitrogen is not a fuel. Hydrogen is usually not produced by bacterial or fungal action, and carbon monoxide is only produced during incomplete combustion. Living things usually do not produce carbon monoxide. What is the percentage of gas X in the biogas? So the total percentage of gas is 100, and from there we can subtract for other gases and carbon dioxide, which is 5, and minus 35, which leaves us 60%. So 60% is methane. The dead plant material in the compost heap and biogas generator does not decay completely. Explain why farmer might spread the remaining dead plant material onto his field. Even after decomposition, minerals remain. So those minerals can benefit the farmer's field. And the undecomposed material that doesn't decompose completely can decay further to release more mineral ions later. So we can write the answer. So that the plants grow faster because further decay releases mineral ions, acts as fertilizer. Figure 10 shows a flightless bird called the dodo, Rhaphis cucullatus. The first part is the name of the genus. The second part is the name of the species. The dodo was 1 meter tall, had a mass of 20 kilograms, lived in rainforest on tropical islands, ate fruits, made its nest on the ground. A female dodo laid only 1 egg each year. Humans arrived on the island in the year 1507. By 1681, the dodo was extinct. What is the genus of the dodo? So the genus of the dodo is the first portion of the name because the name is in binomial system. In this system, our organism is given two-part name. The first part is the name of the genus. The second part is the name of the species. So it will be Rhaphis. You can see animal and bird is an obvious wrong answer. Before the arrival of humans, there were no other large animals living in the island. Suggests two reasons why the dodo became extinct soon after the arrival of humans. From the description, we can see the dodo was a fairly large bird with a very big height. That means it was easily spotted by humans and thereby hunted by humans. So the points can be written as humans hunted and killed the dodo, and also humans either ate the eggs or collected the eggs. And it may also happen that the humans may have eaten the dodo's food, or the animals that were brought by the humans ate dodo's egg. Today, humans are cutting down large areas of tropical rainforest. Suggest one use of the land after the trees has been removed. One of the main land use would be agricultural, so we can say growing crops. Other options are grazing animals, building houses, dumping waste, or mining. Why does the removal of trees cause an increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere? Because the question is asking about an increase in CO2, so we must point out those two boxes that allow CO2 to increase. There are fewer animals. Animals exhale CO2. Since there are fewer animals, that means this point is not valid. There is less photosynthesis. Since photosynthesis absorbs carbon dioxide, so if less photosynthesis occurs, then less amount of carbon dioxide will be removed from the atmosphere. So this is a correct statement. There is less respiration. Since there is less respiration, then the amount of carbon dioxide cannot increase. So this point is not valid. The soil dries out. Drying out soil means it will kill plants. However, it is not directly related to the increase in carbon dioxide concentration. The trees are burned. Combustion produces carbon dioxide. So this will be the correct statement. What effect would an increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere have on the global air temperature? Since increase in carbon dioxide means there will be more greenhouse gas. CO2 is a greenhouse gas. So it will lead to more greenhouse effect, which will cause more heat to be retained within the Earth's atmosphere. The Earth's temperature will increase. Sustainable forestry reduces the harmful effect of cutting down trees on the environment. Figure 11 shows a method of sustainable forestry. Number 1 to 9 shows different part of rainforest. You can see an old growth in the center and the different part of the rainforest. They are numbered in a different way. So the sequence they are cut is from 1 to 9. The trees are cut down in only one area at any one time. It takes 30 years to cut down the trees in each area. The trees in the old growth area are never cut down. How many years would it take to cut down the trees in all of the numbered areas in figure 11? There's a total of 9 areas. Since each area takes about 30 years, so 9 times 30 will be 270 years. The rainforest contains 750 species of trees, 400 species of birds, 150 species of butterflies, many other species of plants and animals. Explain how the pattern of cutting down trees shown in figure 11 stops the biodiversity of the rainforest being reduced. Since there is a central spot that is never cut down, so it will be a source of decolonizing organism. And once one area is cut down, by the time we cut down another area, it will regenerate over the time, and the old growth will provide its support with seeds, and the animals will be able to come back, all right, or move back to the area which is not cut. To score a level 2 in this particular question, we must give relevant points and make a logically detailed, clear account. So it must be logically linked and a detailed, clear account. So we will start with the animals. The animals that are displaced by the cutting down of the trees can move to the adjacent areas where suitable habitat is found, where the trees have not been cut down. Over the course of time, seeds return to the deforested area from the forested areas, those that are nearby, or from the old growth. Then the trees will begin to grow back and provide food and shelter, which will provide suitable habitat for the animals, so the animal can return to the regrowing area from the other forested areas. 30 years is a sufficient time for the regeneration, and old growth area will always act as a source of recolonizing organism. Now, we will only need 4 to 5 points to get this particular answer, but must be in a logical manner to get the full marks. Guys, as long as you write a logically linked answer, your answer will be correct. So just keep in mind to choose the points that you want to write from here and then make sure that they are logically linked. 2 of the substances the body excretes are urea and carbon dioxide. We have to choose from the box. A person makes a lot of urea if the person diet contains a lot of protein. Protein is mainly made of amino acid, and when the amine group is removed, it turns into ammonia, which then turns into urea. Why must urea be excreted from the body? Because urea is toxic to the body, so it must be removed. We can write urea is a waste product. A person produces more carbon dioxide during exercise than when resting. Now we have to choose the options from the box to complete the fill in the blanks. Here are the options that are given. Breathing. Breathing is a type of gas exchange, all right? So oxygen and carbon dioxide are exchanged in breathing. Osmosis. Movement of H2O across partially permeable membrane along water potential gradient. So movement of water generally would be osmosis. Digestion. Large food molecules are broken into smaller molecules. In digestion, we remove undigested waste materials. In respiration, we remove carbon dioxide and water, all right, by breaking down glucose with oxygen. So this process also releases energy. The process that makes carbon dioxide is, now you can see, since the process is asking for the formation of carbon dioxide, it has to be respiration. During exercise, extra carbon dioxide can be removed from the body by increasing the rate of, because breathing is the exchange of gas, so we can say breathing. Excess water must also be removed from the body. If a person sweats a lot, less water will be excreted in the urine. A healthy person did the same amount of exercise on each of 3 days, where the air temperature in one of the day was 30, 20, and 15. The volume of water consumed in 30 and 20 degrees Celsius was the same, 1500, and at 15 degrees Celsius the volume of water consumed was higher, which was 2000. Relative amount of urine produced by the kidneys on a 30 degrees Celsius day obviously is gonna be the least, and on a day where the temperature was low, so less sweating occurred and more water was consumed, so the amount of urine produced by the kidneys would be the most. By process of elimination, medium will be the middle one. Because the temperature was moderate and the water consumption was the same, so definitely medium amount of water will be removed by the kidneys. Some people have kidney disease. Kidney disease may be treated by the dialysis or by having a kidney transplant operation. During dialysis, a person is connected to a machine that filters the blood. Each dialysis session lasts about 6 hours. The person has several dialysis sessions each week. Figure 12 shows how dialysis works. We can see partially permeable membrane through which the protein molecules can not pass through. We can see because it's large enough that it won't be able to pass through. But other than that, substances that are present in the left hand side are also present on the right hand side. So we can see glucose molecules are present on the right hand side. So any substance that can fit through this particular hole will basically able to pass through from this side to the other. How does urea move out of the blood during dialysis? Let's see what are the processes mentioned here. First of all, diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of substances from a region of high concentration to low concentration. We know that dialysis fluid has no urea at all in the beginning. So urea will just move out through diffusion. The other processes are not correct because they relate to digestion, which is basically food breaking down, osmosis, movement of water, respiration, which is the breaking down of food to release energy. Blood has more urea, and from the blood, the urea moves to the dialysis fluid, which has little or no urea. Which substance in figure 12 does not pass through the blood into the dialysis fluid? The obvious answer is protein. The reason is it's just too large of a molecule to pass through. Two people have kidney disease. Person A is treated by dialysis and person B has a kidney transplant. Figure 13 shows the changes in the urea concentration in the blood of each of the person. We can see after the transplant, the urea concentration stays steady, does not increase at all. A person that has dialysis, once the dialysis takes place, the urea concentration drops sharply. The same happens in every cases where the person has a dialysis. Now the question asked, how many dialysis sessions did the person A have each week? Since a week is 7 days, so if we take into consideration for the first 7 days, we can see within that particular time, 3 times the concentration of urea drops for person A. And then in the next week, from 8 to 14 days, another 3 times. So on average, the person is having 3 dialysis per week. What happens to the concentration of urea in the blood between dialysis session? So you can see the concentration of urea again regains to its higher concentration when the dialysis is not taking place. We'll just simply say increases. Give 2 reasons why a kidney transplant is better method for treating kidney diseases than dialysis. Now, a kidney transplant, as we can see even from the diagram, there will be a lower concentration of urea all the time. So we'll say the person has a lower concentration of urea. Other benefits would be that the person does not need to be attached with the dialysis machine every time for decreasing the urea concentration. Other points from the MAR scheme that we can write is less restriction on travel, no repeated piercing on skin is needed for the dialysis, which also increases the chance of blood clots and infection. It is cheaper in the long term and there is no restriction in diet. Figure 14 shows a food chain in a pond. We can see the algae, which is the producer, and then the Daphnia, which is the primary consumer. The second consumer is the Hydra, which feeds on Daphnia, and the dragonfly nymph, which is the third consumer. We can also call in this particular food chain, this is the apex predator, which term describes the Daphnia in the food chain. Since Daphnia is just consuming on algae, so Daphnia is a herbivore. So Daphnia will be a primary consumer. Apex predator is a top predator that does not have any consumer, and a producer is an organism that does photosynthesis. A secondary consumer depends on a primary consumer in terms of food, and a apex predator is usually dependent on a secondary consumer or a tertiary consumer. Draw a pyramid of biomass for the food chain. Biological material derived from living organism or recently living organism is defined as the biomass. So any biological material, example food, will be biomass. Then we will have to label the trophic level. So what is a trophic level? It's a group of organisms within an ecosystem that occupy the same level in the food chain. For example, all producers are organisms that does photosynthesis. So they belong in the same trophic level of producers. Now, producer, which is the algae, will have the highest biomass. So it must have the biggest bar. Then Daphnia, dependent on the algae, will have a smaller bar because it is feeding on the algae and not all of the biomass will be transferred to Daphnia. The same goes as we go up until dragonfly nymph, which will have the lowest biomass because it is dependent on the secondary consumer, which is Hydra. Give one reason why the total biomass of the Daphnia in the pond is different from the total biomass of the algae. Very simple, because not all of the algae will be eaten by the Daphnia, alright? And many at times will be, non-digestible parts, which will be just lost in feces, also lost in energy, lost in respiration. So many points can be given, alright? The best of all, we can say used in respiration or not digested. Student investigated the size and population of Daphnia in the pond. This is the method that is used. Collect 1 dm cube of pond water from near the edge of the pond. Pour the water through the fine net. Count the number of Daphnia caught in the net. Repeat steps 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And then each time we can get a number of Daphnia. The question asks, calculate the mean number of Daphnia in 1 meter cube pond water. First of all, we need to find out the average for 1 dm cube of water. So it will be 5 plus 21. All of them added together divided by 5. This gives us an average of 14. Since this is found in 1 dm cube of water, 1 dm cube is equals to 14, and 1 meter cube contains 1000 dm cube of water. So in 1 meter cube of pond water, it will be 14 times 1000 or 14,000. The pond was a rectangular shape measuring 2.5 meters, 1.5 meters, and a depth of 0.5 meters. Calculate the estimated number of Daphnia in the pond. So to find out the estimated number of Daphnia, we'll have to find out the volume by multiplying the length with the width and with the depth. So volume is equals to 2.5 times 1.5 times 0.5, which gives us a total volume of 1.875 meter cube. So to find out the total number of Daphnia, it will be 1.875 times 14,000, which gives us 26250. So since the answer is requested to be written in standard form, so answer will be 2.63 times 10 to the power of. Answer is needed to be, we need to answer to 2 significant figures. So we'll write 2.6 times 10 to the power of 4. The rainfall can cause fertilizer to be washed from farmland into pond. The student investigated the effect of fertilizer on the population of Daphnia in water from the pond. The student puts 20 Daphnia in each of 5 different concentrations of fertilizer. The student counted the total number of Daphnia in each concentration of fertilizer after 2 weeks. We can see the concentration of fertilizer in milligram per dm cube and the total number of Daphnia after 2 weeks. We can see 5 milligram per dm cube produces the highest number of Daphnia, which is around 275. And the lowest number of Daphnia is produced by the highest concentration of urea, which is around 35. A concentration of 5 milligram per dm cube of fertilizer caused the largest increase in population of Daphnia. Explain why. Because an increase in fertilizer increases the food for the Daphnia, which is algae. The synthetic organism grows faster when there are more nutrients. So more algae means more food for Daphnia. Figure 14 is repeated below. So algae to Daphnia to Hydra to dragonfly nymph. The population of hydra will decrease when 20 milligram per dm cube of fertilizer is added to the pond. Explain why. This question can be proving to be a little bit tricky for students. But you see, with 20 milligram per dm cube fertilizer, the Daphnia number decreases to 35, which means there is less food for hydra. So the answer has to be written, the hydra have less food because the graph shows fewer Daphnia with more fertilizer. Genetic material is made of DNA. Which structures in the nucleus of a human cell contains DNA? So DNA is contained within chromosomes. So chromosomes should be the answer. If you are tempted to write gene or allele, your answer will be correct. However, a better answer is chromosome. Figure 16 shows part of the strand of a DNA molecule. We can see the part labeled X is a pentose sugar, so it must be deoxyribose because it's from DNA. We'll just have to write sugar to get the mark. The part label Y is the cytosine nucleotide, so we'll have to write nucleotide. And the part label Z is base. A complete DNA molecule is made of two strands twisted around each other. What scientific term describes this structure? So basically, when the two strands are twisted together, we call it double helix. DNA codes for the production of protein. A protein molecule is a long chain of amino acid. How many amino acids could be coded by the pieces of DNA shown in figure 16? So let's see figure 16. In the figure 16, we have a total of 1, 2, 9 nucleotides. Since there are a total of 9 nucleotides and 3 nucleotide is needed for one amino acid, so 9 over 3, the answer will be 3. Scientists have now studied the whole human genome. Give two benefits of the understanding of human genome. If we understand human genome, we can definitely diagnose inherited genetic disorder. Also, we can try to find out a gene therapy or treatment for those genetic disorders, the inherited disorders. We can also understand the human evolution and we can find our ancestry. So any one of the 2 points from here would be the correct answer. Phototropism is a growth response by part of a plant to light. Give the stimulus the plant responds to in the tropism you have named. So the other tropism will be gravity. So we'll call it gravitropism. And the stimulus for this one will be gravity. Plan an investigation to show the effect of light from one direction on the growth of plant seedlings. Include details of any controls needed. You may use some of the equipment shown in figure 17 and any other laboratory apparatus. You can see the lamp, several pots of seedlings, scissors, cardboard boxes with leads, and ruler. So since this particular question is a 6 marker, we'll have to write a particular answer where it will give a method which will lead to a valid outcome, and it must be in a logical order. So we can choose several seedlings in each batch. Then we can measure the height of the shoots. After that, some of them we can leave in dark with light from one side, where we can have a control group where light is provided from all directions. Variables such as temperature, soil type, amount of water given to the plant should be kept constant. After a suitable time, for example, 24 hours or 48 hours, we record the appearance of the seedlings, those that had light from one direction and those that had light from all directions. We'll also measure the height of the shoots and we'll measure the curvature. By using a protractor, we will estimate the angle of the bending. We will calculate the mean height increase for each group and compare. Explain how phototropism in plant should help the plant to survive. When a plant shows phototropism, the plant receives light from one side. So there is more photosynthesis in that side. So the plant produces more glucose if the plant can bend towards the side which provides more light for photosynthesis. Guys, thank you for joining this particular video. Guys, videos like this will be uploaded regularly. So subscribe to the channel, and foundation papers, all of them will be in a playlist. So keep an eye for that. Thank you for watching the video. See you in the next video, guys. Best of luck for your exam. Bye-bye.